Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sketchcraft Live. I'm Rob D. So basically, I've been given this speech, I think I'll be 3 or 4 times now in the past month. I've just decided to make a quick video. So anytime anyone has questions, I can just refer you to this. Some basic color tips that I think will greatly benefit anyone who works in Photoshop or even color in real life. I think this will really just help get right to the point. First thing, anytime you're coloring in Photoshop, do yourself a favor and do not color on a white background. Okay. Let me explain to you quickly why. Let's grab a yellow here, right? There's a pretty bright yellow. And this yellow, if we go all the way over here, is the farthest it can go in terms of saturation. And next to the white background, it looks dark. There's no more room. Case in point, if I take this white background and I fill it with roughly 50% gray, now that yellow's way freaking bright. Now this is a pretty common tip, but it's not needed to be here because you can see what this is two things. This is called value, and this is called hue. Value is the black and white information in any image. It's the contrast between light and dark, completely black and white. So if I come over here and reduce the saturation, the value of this yellow is this sort of dark gray or this neutral gray here, right? See, but the hue, the pigment, the color, hue is color. So if we just think of hue as color and value as a grayscale, everything in life has a value and a hue, and it's the combination and contrast between the two. With basic color design, in terms of proper value, you can take the same hue and change its intensity. So here it's really bright, and then as we, desaturate the value, it becomes darker and darker, relatively speaking. See how bright it is? See how dark it is? With the same color, nothing's changed but the value. So that's the first thing. Number two, a lot of people in Photoshop, when they're working, work in RGB. Now, selecting colors in RGB is tough. If let's say I want to get a blue, I go this way, I pick that green, and I have to go over here. But now I want a purple. Well, where are you supposed to get purple? What happens is a lot of people end up going in here and selecting these things and sliding around. And you end up with, okay, let's say I got this green. I like that green, and I want a darker color of that. The basic I can do is kind of look and go, well, maybe that's darker. And then maybe I got, let's see, I can go to, oh shit, that's weird. That doesn't look very good, right? It's hard to pick colors this way. RGB is how computers interpret information, or maybe our eyes. But the best way to work is in right here. If you click on the color tab in Photoshop, there's this little tab right here. You click it, and you can select it to HSB. What is HSB? HSB stands for hue, saturation, and black. So hue is the different color. So in this case, if I select this green, which I'll color again right here, let's just turn that right there. I actually prefer it to be just a little off, like right around there. That's what I like to work with. Just a little bit brighter than my background here. So or darker, depending on how you want to look at it, right? So I'll just go a little bit brighter. So let's say I select this green, and I want the yellow equivalent of that. I can just take the hue and move it over this way and get a yellow variation in the same neutral zone. See, its value hasn't shifted much at all. It's virtually the same value. And if I just take the hue and slide it around here, it hasn't shifted much at all. It's virtually the same value. Now let's say I wanted to pick a lighter version of it. It's like a light purple. The way to do that really quickly is just take the saturation, slide it down. Sorry. Take the blackness, slide it up, and the saturation down, right? So these two will always move in opposites. These will go down, this will go up. This will go down, this will go up. I try to keep them almost in equal tandem. So as lighter it gets, we can come up here, this will come down. So you get a step, this will come here, this will come down. I never want to make it perfectly even. This will come here, this will come down. Right? And so you can just quickly, yourself here change the color without having to go and find a bunch of images on the internet, find something you like and pick it and choose it. And it leaves a lot less to chance. Now, the other thing I recommend is I like to color. If you're going to be working in print, you're going to print this stuff out. I work in RGB, but I preview in CMYK. Now, right now, I'm working in RGB, but I'm previewing in RGB. You can see this little tab here says RGB. I'm going to hit Control Y, and now I'm previewing in CMYK. Watch the difference in these colors here. RGB, CMYK. It's still RGB, but I'm previewing. And you see the shift big time here, right? See that neon purple turns blue, bluish lavender. That's because these colors, as they stand now, are out of gamut. You can never print them. These are being illuminated by the backlit by the monitor. So you have these colors that are only really reproducible on a computer. Great for video games, stuff like that. Anything completely digital. If you're never going to print your stuff, you don't have to worry about it. But let's say you were going to print something and it had a, a bright teal green. Like this is really popular for games like Transistor, right? And this looks pretty cool. I actually really like this, right? And I like this purple, right? And then over here I got some cool in between. I'm blending these together, and I'm like, oh, this is really awesome. And this comes over here, and I think it's really great. And then I go to print it, and it prints like that. And you're like, oh, my colors are all messed up. Kinkos or Staples fucked up my print. That's what it's supposed to look like, but it printed like this. What? That's a big freaking difference, don't you think? But you have to remember that this will never print like this. The only way to get that is if you print it on some kind of metallic surface or something with enough glossy behind it that would then enhance the saturation just because it's reflecting light in a way. That's why people like to print their display art on glossy paper, because you also get the reflection of the light, which adds an intensity that is out of gamut in a way. It just creates reflection and sort of gives you that effect. I'm inversing. What do? You want to get that color? Well, you kind of can't. That's where you have to then use your white. That's what I would say. Like, now, you're like, well, how do you pick color? I'm going to show you the easiest way to start picking colors, other than here, is the color picker. So last thing I want to talk about, because this is kind of really important, is basically you have all these colors, and people get plumb crazy picking all over the fucking board. But no one, I think, really knows how to use it. Pros know how to use this. Entry-level artists don't know how to use this. They start doing this, right? And usually what happens is you start here. Let's say you pick here, and you pick a blue. You're like, I really like that blue, right? And then you're like, I want to make it lighter, so you go here. And then you're like, I want to make it darker, so maybe you pick there or here, right? And then here. Now that's a pretty nice little gradation of color there. That's what most people do. The thing you're missing, and the true benefit of having this little picker, is first you got to make sure it's picked on age. It defaults that, so you don't have to worry about it. Is if let's say you start here, you have two ways to use this. If you go this way, it's boring. If you go this way and this way, you get nothing but value. And here you get nothing but hue, like or saturation, right? So value, lightness, this is like the black, that's what this is here. And then S, saturation, which is what this is here. And then this is your hue, right? Which is what this slider is. Now, light to dark, as I just did, as most people think, they operate going from here, here, here. This is really gradual, right? It's pretty normal. Down to like black. Okay. The key is to actually think more like also think like this. You want to work diagonally this way and then diagonally this way, like an X. So here you got saturation, and then you come down here, which because of gamut doesn't give us much of a shift, so that's better. Then we'll come down here. Now, once you're in this area, you can continue to go dark, right, which gives you this, or you have room within this little area. This is like the magic spot right here. Let me explain to you why. Is here you can shift color according to the temperature. How do I say this? Let's say this blue represents nighttime, and you want to add some warmth in it, like the glow of the city or something, some warmth. Once you're in this zone, you got room to do that. So right around here, right? From there, you can slide this around, right? Let's say we can go to red, and we haven't changed the hue. It's the same scale of saturation. We just changed the hue, sorry. We haven't changed the saturation. We come over here to purple, right? Or we can come back and then come back out of it this way. Never really explained this very well before. And see, we went from blue to red dynamically, without having to sample alternate, images or hope someone else on the internet figured it out and we thought it looked cool. It works the same way. So if let's pick here, and let's say I wanted to go to green. We select here, we slide this down to green. We come back up. Now I want to go to yellow. Slide it down to yellow. See? Adds more yellow. We come out of it here. And I go to the peak saturation. Look at that. This is really, really quite easy to learn. And this gives you tons of room to, you can come in here, just take a blending brush. Down to like 50%. You can just come in here and blend it. Awesome, right? I did that all without, I didn't have to think about it. I just knew I wanted green in there. And this is really kind of fun to do. So you can do this with anything. This is like, if you really get into color, this becomes quite the little event. You can just experiment. So let's just pick anywhere. I like purple. And I want to go from purple to orange, and then from orange down to blue, right? So I'm going to come down here. It's not enough difference. So it's kind of a curve. I come down here. Maybe the way to do it is to really shove it way at the top. Now see, because of my CMYK, come right down here. There we go. It's better. Come right down to the sweet spot. See here, if we wanted to get lighter than this, and we can't, right? Because we're at the max, we go back to white. So we can come this way. See? So now that we're in purple, we want to go to orange. So right here, we're just going to take the slider, go down to orange, right? That's going to give us a little bit of brown, and we're going to come back out. Come further out here. And now I want to go from orange to, you can pick anything. Let's just say green. That seems weird, right? So we can move this up to See, it's harder to do it up here. So to do it up here, we'd have to kind of come back down again to here. See, what happens is if we just slide it over to green, it's a big contrast. So we need a couple steps. So we come back this way, come back this way. And once we're in there, we can then slide it back up to green. And I can move it a little bit more up this way. Okay. The trick is to getting it down to around like the gray areas to do a lot of your shifting back out. It's in those little neutral gray areas where you got room to then move around the hue. And I'm going to be honest, this right here solves a lot of problems. Now you're like, Rob, that's great for playing with colors, but how do we execute that in terms of coloring things, right? Like trees and plants. Just move this up here. So you can just come over here and really quickly just comp in some dirt. I'm just using a hard brush, nothing spectacular here, right? And I know things get darker. As they get closer to me, they're a little darker. So here I can add some dark patches. That brown is right here, so I can come back out to green. And now I'm going to start to lay in some green grass, right? And then I like that a little bit more. So I can come in here and start to, right? Work in some bushes, right? And some highlights on that. And then I want to come back down to the brown. So I'm going to come back here and start to work in the wood. Maybe it's got a tree back here. So I've got a little tree. And this has some shading in it. And probably going to need to bring that back down and slide it a little bit. And then once I'm in here, I can come back up to right to the slider and add this and bring that down. Probably a little much. Like this. There we go. So we'll add that back in, and then I'll add a little bit with the white to give a little bit of hot spot. And I can start to sample from these colors and just kind of block in a silhouette of some branches. And you start to pick from your own image, right? Come underneath it. And let's just say it's got a purple sky for some stupid reason. I want to go to yellow a little bit for a sun. So what I need to do is get the, let's see if we can wing that, because it's probably not going to. Yeah. So that's fine. So this is very pretty basic. We can start to rim lights, right? And you very quickly can start to use the color slider in a way that, matters. It's not just this random thing where you're sliding all the way around here. So again, saturation to black, right? This curve. You can go from here out to white, right? You can go from saturation to white. But once you're in here, you can also flip around hue and come out of it with nice gradients. I mean, you could also, once you're up in here, watch if you flip over here and create a giant contrast. The problem is that, it becomes more graphic designy at that point. Like, but see, it still works. Let's say you want more of a step. Yeah. So this would solve a lot of people's problems, just so you know. I hope it's helped in any way possible. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I will answer anything you need. And as always, continue to make badass art, and I will definitely be there to help out with anything you need. Thanks for hanging out. I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.